All right, we'll move on to our 6.10. Public hearing consideration of proposed ordinance designating fire hazard severity zones in the local responsibility areas in the unincorporated lands of Lake County. And it looks like we have Director Turner coming up to present this. And we are now only 15 minutes behind, so we've caught up somewhat.
Good morning, Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. We would like to request a 1-week continuance on this item, please. I inadvertently omitted the public input that we received during our 90-day public review period for these fire maps, and would like to have the opportunity to make sure that the public and the board has time to review those comments.
Supervisor Sabatier?
I guess it's a question for County Council. I'd like to engage in discussion just in case that it kind of changes what comes before us, because my goal today was to persuade my colleagues to do something slightly different than what was being proposed to us. Would that be something we could discuss, or do I need to just forego that and wait till it comes back?
Lloyd?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the request before your board today is just a continuance date. It appears that staff would need more time to gather the information and the documents that may result in something substantively different from what's being proposed here, even though what is anticipated is just the first approval of the first reading of the ordinance, but the contents of such ordinance may or may not change depending on what needs to be gathered or the information or documents that still need to be gathered, uploaded. That is the basis for for staff's request to the board for a continuance. Now, the other option, of course, for any member of your board is to consult with staff as to the status or any of the inner details of what may lead up to, if it gets continued, what may lead up to the content of that proposed ordinance for first reading. That may be an option.
So I really don't know if that helped me out at all. No. We have a timeline. This needs to be done by the end of June. And so we have a very limited number of meetings in order to get this done. If we postpone without discussion and it comes back and then this board does agree that we need to make these changes, then it potentially needs to have another first reading. I would like to engage in discussion, not to approve and move forward today, just to consider what might come back with the public comments at the future continuance of this. Can we engage in that discussion today if we plan to continue?
I suppose to the extent that your board can give some direction or input to staff in preparation for, if it gets continued, this later date for the first reading of the ordinance. So your board always has that option to give direction to staff to take certain things into consideration as staff is moving forward from today to the requested continuance date.
That helps me out a little bit better. Thank you. Can I provide my statements, or would you rather I wait after Director Turner provides a little bit more background information?
Hi, Director Turner.
Thank you. What you have before you today is an update to the fire hazard severity maps. These are done on I wouldn't say regular, rare occurrence through conference at the state level for both state responsibility areas and local responsibility areas. The proposed changes are a significant increase in fire hazard severity for a majority of the county, and is required to have gone through a 90-day public review period. We did receive, our public review period started on February 12th, concluded on May 12th. We did receive a small number of emails. According to the code, a local jurisdiction is not allowed to reduce the fire hazard severity However, you do have the option to increase the fire hazard severity on parcels. These maps were available online at a website. What was that website? ready.lakecountyca.gov. They also were printed in large formats and available to view at the Community Development Department. We had them on the walls. A number of parcels are split in their designation. Some a portion of a parcel will be moderate, and another parcel might be severe or might not be moderate. One thing to note that I think might appreciate, or the board may appreciate in continuing this item, is I would like to have a conversation with the representative at the state level, because some jurisdictions are actually bucking the system. And where those parcels are split, not split zoned, but split in their fire hazard severity, they're actually reducing, which is in opposition to state law. But the closest we could get was a recommendation from this fire representative to confer with county council and our local jurisdiction regarding that action. So, but according to state law, we can raise it, we can increase the fire severity designation, but we can't reduce it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment, if possible.
Go ahead.
Certainly.
Okay. My big concern is how that's going to, affect our fire insurance rates. Because there's been a huge increase, and we're already challenged to get fire insurance in our area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am really concerned about these new maps for that reason.
You are not alone. I think if I remember correctly at the presentation, when these first came to the board's awareness, the insurance industry is not supposed to use these maps, but we all know that they do.
And then also the second portion of that is how that might affect your department for building within these zones.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to hinder people that own properties that have been rezoned or redesignated into higher areas, not just for insurance, but for building purposes as well?
In our building code, we do have what's called the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface, and there are certain requirements in order to build that would still be implemented.
Will this make it harder for them, more difficult? These redesignations?
I think that the lands that would have been added or increased to moderate, which a lot of our county was already in WUI, so I don't know that it's going to be shocking as far as processing building permits. And currently, in our zoning ordinance, there is no planning prohibition regarding fire hazard yet.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm sorry. Am I okay?
Go ahead.
And that is this going to reach further into putting requirements on people in those zones as far as what they have to do to maintain their properties or et cetera?
Great question. Simultaneously, I don't think it's directly connected to this, but simultaneously, the fire
Marshall.
Thank you. They're launching, well, actually, it's CAL FIRE, I think, launching a Zone Zero. This is a very ambitious public outreach effort to help our residents understand the way that they can protect their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So Zone Zero is something that's actually a separate effort that's getting launched as well.
Right, and I was aware of the Zone Zero. That's primarily why I'm asking that. I just didn't want to have government overreach in the requirements rather than helping is great, requiring is another issue.
This fire map update is more of a updating the map to reflect current changes. Now, it's not going to be a shock to anybody in Lake County that we have pretty high fire severity.
Sure.
threats. Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Nobody likes the maps, but I think this is one of the no choices, kind of like the building code updates. We just have to go with it because it's not ours, and if we're out of compliance, then we have other issues as we allow people to build or do things outside of compliance. So I wanted to offer two suggestions. You just kind of threw me a curveball about the reduction. I don't believe that's allowed. You've stated that it's not allowed, but yet saying others are doing it is really strange. So I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, ignore that statement because I don't believe that's allowed. But one statement that was not made is if you have that split severity, multiple severity ratings on one specific parcel, it is deemed to be at the highest level of that severity for the entire parcel. And that can get confusing for folks who are coming into your counter, dealing with your frontline staff, where all of a sudden they may need to be explained, yes, I know you want to build and moderate, but because there's a high severity on your parcel, the entire parcel is being deemed as high severity, those types of things. So what I've seen in the conversation happen in the city of Clear Lake, I had a conversation with Chief Cepeda this morning, is that they are changing the severity for those split parcels to just be one severity to keep the conversation a whole lot easier for those who approach the counter, so that eventually we're not having arguments and fights over something we don't even get to control. And I think that there was a little bit of pushback, at least from one fire district that I'm aware of. I don't know if it was more, at least that's not what I was told by Chief Cepeda. But I think that any parcel that is less than 5 acres, let's make that a single type of severity. That is my proposal to this board. Anything bigger, maybe there's ways to really identify and make a differentiation. I know in my conversation, maybe it was 10, maybe it was 5. It is a random number. It is not a specific reason why I bring that up. But I just think the smaller the parcel, the more difficult it is to really differentiate between high severity zone and a moderate zone within the same parcel itself. So that's one proposal that I'm asking the board to discuss and see if that can be in our final proposal, and that can easily be done on GIS mapping to identify those parcels and highlight them with just one color rather than the multiple gradients that we're seeing currently on the map. My second proposal is we're not really given a choice. This is a kind of a mandate by the state of just approve it and deal with it. I think we should write a letter to the state letting them know our concerns and our issues with these maps. I could go over the number of issues that I have with these maps, but I think we all kind of understand these maps and know these maps, and if there's possible direction that can be given to come back with a letter of our concerns and our issues with these maps and how we would like to see them be done in the future. I know that the city of Clear Lake has one on their agenda for this week. I know there's been discussions between our CAO and both city managers. Maybe we can have a county-wide letter that is signed by all chairs and mayors. And maybe we can even request through RCRC and CSAC and others for the cities, the Cal cities, to do the same, because their methodology, their science is not wrong, but their methodology is definitely not appropriate in my opinion. So those are my two proposals.
RCRC doesn't have a meeting for like a month or two, so I don't know if that's like an urgent thing.
And it wouldn't change the maps. It would just change the future of how these maps are handled.
All right, so I'm confused. I know you asked for direction or something of the like. Are you able to accommodate that, or what he's asking for?
Certainly. That would be fine. I'll work with GIS. And if Supervisor Spatier is recommending that those parcels 5 acres and lower go up to the higher fire hazard severity designation rather than to the lower one, that's an easy one. And we just work with Lon.
Okay.
And then I'd be happy to work with the administrative office regarding letters, should that be the desire of the board.
Yes. The only thing with the 5 acres is if there's a partial in there where is it going to make it more difficult for somebody to build? If I have 5 acres and a portion of it is, and we designate the whole area at the higher level, is that going to make it really hard for me? I'm just speaking for people out there.
I'd be happy to confer with my staff. I don't know that exact answer, and I don't want to just guess.
I think that,
My understanding is
Vice
it's
Chair.
all within the WUI. However, I would prefer to get that exact answer for you.
Vice Chair?
My, just to go towards that, my understanding is that if you had 3 acres, 5 acres, whatever, if you had a split map, you're still going to be required to follow the same building codes, you know, whether you built on the whatever portion of it, and that that wouldn't change anything necessarily. So that was what I was
Okay.
curious about too, but that's my understanding of what the law is. I don't know if you know more.
Unfortunately, my chief building official is on vacation right now.
Okay, I just didn't want to make it more difficult
But
or
would-
expensive if we don't have to.
With that, I'm okay with a letter. I mean, I think, you know, letting the state know, you know, that we have concerns is fine. And I'm open to looking at those other changes as well. I just do want to make sure that we can get this done on time, because we only have
Yeah.
2 meetings left in June that we're able to do this at, right? Because the last meeting is a budget meeting.
Actually, the meeting happens, and then the budget hearings happen the next couple days, so we do have that meeting. So-
Tuesday, Wednesday.
No, it's all,
Usually it's,
Yeah.
We
okay,
changed it.
sorry.
We only have 2 more regular meetings.
2 more
Okay.
regular meetings.
All right,
Well, my comment is, we've already done this for the SRA, this is the LRA, and, I don't want to have inconsistent ordinances. We had this whole conversation a year ago. CAL FIRE and the state are well aware of all of our comments, and I don't think a letter's not going to do anything. We've already had all this conversation, we had a lot more of it last year, so I'm ready to just move forward as is.
like as is today.
Well, no, I want to come back and have the public comment, but we have the ordinance for the the LRA, SRA last year, and then we're going to make this one different for the SRA. I don't,
All right. Supervisor Sabatier?
And I think it's okay to evolve in our understanding of things, and this impacts more of our community growth boundaries, the LRAs, in comparison to the SRA. Not entirely, but there are many more community growth boundaries impacted by the LRA. I think this also potentially reduces the conflict upstairs when folks approach. And I think the letter, while maybe solely symbolic, our people are not happy with what's happening, and I think part of our job is to speak up for the people that we represent, and so that's why I'm in favor of the letter.
I second that.
I'm not going to vote against it. It's not going to do anything. So if,
If it doesn't stall anything, I'm fine.
we just need to keep
It
moving
looks like
forward
we-
and make sure that we are
We,
through this process when we need to be done.
we have a consensus ready to do the letter, so continuance with the letter is what we're looking at, and anything else, Lloyd, that I'm missing?
Yeah, so not sure if your board has taken in public comment at
Yeah,
this point.
I was gonna make
What's
sure to
before
do-
your board, of course, is really from staff's, it would be staff's request for a continuance. The letter could come from direction from your board via consensus. But as far as this ordinance is concerned, the proposed ordinance, it would be a motion to continue it to a date and time certain.
I'll open it up to the public for anyone that would like to speak. Go ahead, come on up.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Chair Crandall. Just 2 things that came to mind. One is, I understand the building codes won't change if you build on a split parcel. You got to follow the codes. But could the insurance change? So that if you were on a medium parcel and you built there, your homeowner's insurance theoretically could be lower than if you built on a parcel that was rated higher. The second thing is, if you change the maps and at a future date, the property owner decides to split his parcel. In some jurisdictions, like I live in a large parcel, I haven't done it, but others have zoned the area where they've built their house at one level for tax purposes, and then the rest is left, rural. And in those situations, if you change it to the higher one, even though the California maps have a split, would it cause a problem down the road? I think those are questions that would be interesting understanding. So I understand where you're headed. I don't really have a problem with that myself, but I think those are fair questions. But what happens, not so much for building codes, but in the case of insurance, and in a future date, if someone decides to split their parcel, say along the fire hazard zone line, would they be able to have that change reflected in the new subdivision? Thank you.
New parcel.
Do you,
So for land subdivisions, let's assume it's out in the rural lands, rural residential zoning districts. We do determine a minimum parcel size for potential subdivisions based on its distance in air miles to a local fire station, its fire hazard severity zone. So we do take those into account. Moderate versus severe has no relevance in future subdivisions.
But what about the insurance?
I cannot speak to the insurance industry. That's way out of my lane.
They really have their own maps. Which look
Go ahead.
different.
And as far as the map already exists, and the rules on the map is if it's split, it's actually being used as the higher severity that's on the parcel, whether it's has moderate and high, it's going to be seen as high. That is the rule that is being put into play. That's why when speaking with the fire chief within the district I serve and speaking with the city within the district I serve, both are in favor of these types of maps. So that's why I'm advocating for that. And if we move a different direction, so be it. So just wanted to at least final.
I think we're already going in that direction, it looks like, so.
Yeah. No, I can agree with it. I just had the same concerns about the insurance. So, thank you.
All right, anyone else from the public? Online or on Zoom? All right. I'll bring back to the board for action to continue to a later date and with the direction from the board. Is that what we're looking at here? Or? Date and time certain.
That would be June 10th at 9:30.
June 10th at 9:30. Is that work for you, Johanna? And
I will make sure I have a very clear answer to your question as well.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Right. And is there anything else I missed, Lloyd?
So that would be a motion to be seconded by your board, if there is such a motion, to a date and to continue the hearing to the date and time certain.
Mr. Chair, I move to continue this item to June 10th at 9:30,
Second.
time certain.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.